It just happened. Trump gave the word. Israel moved first, and now everything is collapsing. This isn't just speculation. This isn't saber rattling. This is the final blow. While you were sleeping, the plan snapped into motion. ICE raids across U.S. sanctuary cities, Iranian sleeper cells taken down, lasers, explosives, encrypted networks, real threats neutralized. And behind it all, a court ruling that changed everything. President Trump now has the constitutional firepower to send in the National Guard anywhere, anytime. And he just did. But it's not just over yet, guys, because what just leaked out of Tehran, it proves that they weren't just planning to hit Israel. They were already here. And this is exactly why President Trump's DHS unleashed a nationwide crackdown last night. Antifa-linked operatives, nuclear intel buried in storage units, ICE agents under attack, and finally fighting back. So guys, you're going to want to see what Israel did next, how Gavin Newsom tried to stop it and ended up getting steamrolled, and what the Ninth Circuit just gave President Trump full power to do next. So stick with me, guys, because in the next few minutes, you're going to see how Iran's nuclear plot got all the way to California, while sanctuary cities, they became ground zero, and why President Trump is now calling this the final warning before total collapse. By the way, if you guys appreciate the daily news updates, click the like button and subscribe to the channel. Okay, so let's get into this whole thing and how it all exploded, because the truth is, this crackdown, it didn't just come out of nowhere. It started with one word: Iran. June 20th, 2025, the White House dropped a bombshell. They confirmed what many of us had already suspected. Iran can now produce a nuclear weapon in just weeks, not years, not someday, but weeks. Now listen, this isn't just talk. Iran is enriching uranium at nearly 90% purity, which means they already have enough nuclear material for at least 10 warheads. You heard that right, guys, 10. But here is where it crosses into full-blown national emergency. Intelligence sources discovered that Iran was moving materials through U.S. ports, through our own airports. Our own airports, guys, using smuggling networks routed through states with weak enforcement. And guess where they're headed? Sanctuary cities. The same cities where ICE has been blocked. The same cities where criminals hide in plain sight, shielded by soft-on-crime politicians who would rather virtue signal than secure the homeland. But here's the next part, guys. And this is what really triggered Trump's DHS to finally go full throttle. Intelligence confirmed Iran sleeper cells are already here, embedded, waiting. Some of them are posing as activists. Others are students or posing as students, workers, even volunteers. And worst of all, they're hiding right inside the very jurisdictions that refuse to cooperate with ICE. Cities like San Francisco, Chicago, Los Angeles, all places where local leaders said, hands off our people, even when those same people were quietly coordinating with foreign enemies. Now, this is not a movie, guys. This is right now. And what happened next? Well, it changed the game forever. So stick with me, because up next, I'm going to break down the exact moment that President Trump gave the order and what DHS found when they kicked down the doors in 7 U.S. cities. Oh, you're going to want to hear about the storage units and what was inside of them. It's going to make your jaw drop. All right, so here's how it all started. Not with an explosion, not with a broadcast, not even with a raid. It started with a classified briefing inside the White House Situation Room, where President Trump was handed the one thing that changes everything: a direct intelligence confirmation. Iran can build a nuclear weapon in 3 to 6 weeks. And just like that, the red flags lit up. According to newly declassified reports from the Department of Energy and DHS, Iran's enrichment facilities are now operating at full capacity. They've bypassed the IAEA inspections, they've ignored international warnings, and today they are operating at weapons grade levels, hovering at nearly 90% enrichment uranium. That's not theoretical, guys. That's not potential. That is weapons ready. Worse still, there's no hiding it. Hundreds of viewers have already taken the leap, and the results speak for themselves. Amy Best, she was thrilled. Ron, I finally called chapter. Thank you so much. Cecil Frith Sr. said, thanks for the chapter link, Ron. I'm now saving $166 a month on Social Security. That is a sweet raise. Guys, that's over $1,900 a year saved just between these two people. Chapter's help is totally free. There's no pressure. Just people who care about getting you the right Medicare coverage for your life and your budget. Hey, don't waste another moment. See how much money you can save right now. You can give them a call down below. Phone number is listed in the pinned comment or in the description, or better yet, hit them up on their website at askchapter.org/Ron. Make the call. You'll be so glad you did. Now, the Iranian regime is now openly boasting about their capacity. They're not worried about sanctions. They're not worried about the UN because they believe that the United States, especially under weak liberal leadership in the past, won't do a dang thing to stop them. But that was before June 2025. That was before Donald J. Trump returned to the White House. And here's where it gets even darker, guys, and far more dangerous. DHS confirms that Iranian intelligence has been using our own immigration loopholes to move sensitive material and operatives into the United States. Smuggling routes traced through Houston port terminals, Southern California freight hubs, and even international passenger flights into New York and Chicago. What were they bringing in, though? Well, not missiles, not tanks, but something far more effective: people, sleeper cells, trained, embedded, and coordinated operatives who have been living quietly inside the U.S. cities, some of them for years, waiting for the go signal. And according to DHS, that signal may have already come. The scariest part, though, these sleeper agents were not hiding in red states. They weren't in rural areas or near military bases. They were positioned deliberately in so-called sanctuary cities. Why? Because these cities, run by radical leftist mayors and governors, have openly refused to cooperate with ICE. They've banned law enforcement from checking immigration status. They've blocked DHS access to local intel. They've sheltered foreign nationals with criminal records. These cities became safe zones for hardworking immigrants, not for cartels, terror financiers, and foreign intelligence assets. And so the Iranian regime, they knew that. In fact, new intercepted communications between Quds Force leadership and proxy operatives inside the U.S. confirm explicit references to cities like Los Angeles, San Francisco, Portland, Chicago, New York City. Now, one chilling message read, "The police will not touch us there. They fear their own people." This is what we're up against. And here's what you really need to understand here, guys. This wasn't just a foreign policy crisis. This wasn't just a nuke problem. This became a homeland emergency. President Trump was briefed. The risk was real, and the plan was clear. Identify, isolate, and eliminate every sleeper cell operating under Iranian control inside the United States. And that is when the gears of justice began to turn. Now, hang on, guys, because what happens next? This is something that we've never seen before, okay? I want to walk you through exactly how this operation ended up getting launched. I'm going to talk to you guys. I'm going to share with you guys the pre-launched, the pre-dawn raids in 7 sanctuary cities, the jaw-dropping evidence that was found inside of rented storage units and abandoned homes, and, of course, the terrifying list of targets still being hunted down as we speak. All right, guys, this is when President Trump stopped playing defense and started hunting these guys down. But let's go ahead and continue. All right, so how did it all go down? Well, it didn't go down with press releases. It didn't go down with CNN coverage, but with boots on the ground, pre-dawn, and no more warnings. So over the last 72 hours, President Trump's DHS, backed by ICE tactical units, executed synchronized raids across 7 major sanctuary cities. Let me say that again. 7 cities, simultaneously, 0 leaks. The targets, a mix of Iranian-linked sleeper cells, shell nonprofits, and residential properties believed to be staging grounds for future attacks. Cities hit include Los Angeles, San Francisco, Chicago, New York City, Philadelphia, Portland, and Seattle. Now, we're talking about a massive federal operation, the biggest ICE action in years. And what they uncovered, it stunned even hardened DHS officers. Now, according to the department's official briefing, 43 high-priority suspects arrested, all foreign nationals with direct ties to Iranian intelligence, Hezbollah financiers, or Quds Force backers. Agents recovered encrypted hard drives, fake passports, and get this, traces of uranium stored in lead-lined containers inside self-storage units in San Jose and Chicago. Now, there were dossier detailed ICE patrolled routes, facial recognition, targeting tools, blueprints of critical U.S. infrastructure, water treatment, grid station ports, you name it. By the way, does anyone remember the drones that were flying over the New York City area, New Jersey, the whole Northeast, maybe about... right as President Trump was about to be inaugurated, or right around that time, beginning of 2025. I wonder if those drone rumors were true about the drones looking for traces of nuclear activity, uranium perhaps. Well, all I can say is that this was not random. This was planned infiltration. And guess where most of it was found? Inside jurisdictions where ICE had been defunded, where local law enforcement was blocked from cooperating, where officials like Gavin Newsom gave speech after speech about how America should be a sanctuary. DHS officials are now saying that years of inaction allowed these sleeper cells to grow roots, to blend in, and to build networks that were days, maybe even hours away from activation. Now, here's what really flipped the switch. Just last week, President Trump scored a major court victory. The Ninth Circuit, of all places, honestly, ruled that President Trump has full constitutional authority to deploy both ICE and the National Guard when local officials refuse to act. And he didn't hesitate either. The court ruling was the green light, and President Trump, he took it straight to the front lines. Now, here's the thing though, guys. This was just the beginning. So how did we even get here? How did we go from sleeper cells hiding in plain sight to ICE storming buildings with National Guard backup? Well, it comes down to this. The Ninth Circuit gave Trump the hammer, and he didn't blink. Let me go ahead and walk you through this because it really does matter. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, one of the most liberal courts in the entire country, handed President Trump what many are calling his biggest legal victory yet in his second term: full constitutional authority to deploy the National Guard and take control when local forces are unable or unwilling to enforce federal law. And the ruling wasn't close. It was unanimous. That means no more hiding behind state rights. No more excuses for mayors and governors who let chaos reign and criminals walk free. Trump reacted within hours. He posted this on Truth Social. He said, quote, "Big win in the Ninth Circuit on core presidential powers. Newsom, totally incompetent. We protect citizens when local politicians fail. Congratulations to the Ninth. America is proud," end quote. And then he moved. DHS teams were activated, ICE warrants were unsealed, National Guard units were mobilized into sanctuary cities with full constitutional backing. And Gavin Newsom? Well, let's just say that Gavin Newsom cracked. He fired back on Twitter saying, "Donald Trump is not a king." Tonight, the court rightly rejected the idea that he can deploy soldiers without oversight. But here's a twist. That wasn't the ruling. Gavin Newsom either didn't read it or hoped you wouldn't read it, because the court did affirm President Trump's right to deploy when state and local forces can't or won't enforce the law. And that's exactly what Gavin Newsom's California has been doing. They've been blocking ICE, releasing dangerous foreign nationals, and enabling the growth of networks that literally conspire with America's enemies. And now, Secretary Kristi Noem just made it crystal clear. At a DHS press briefing yesterday, she didn't mince words. We are witnessing the consequences of sanctuary lawlessness. The president's directive is clear. Out of the threat, protect the homeland, right? Root out the threat and hold accountable every official who stood in the way. She also went on to say assaults on ICE officers are up 413% in sanctuary cities. Many of those attackers are foreign-aligned radicals. We will not allow this to continue. So think about it. 413%? That's the result of years of appeasement, years of politicians who cared more about being called inclusive than saving or keeping you safe. So now all of that's over. President Trump, he has both the authority and the will and the people behind him at this point. So now let's talk about the part that nobody wants to touch. Because while Iran was building bombs and smuggling operatives into our cities, they weren't working alone. They had help right here at home. But let me be blunt about this. The Department of Homeland Security has now confirmed that Iranian-linked sleeper cells were coordinating with radical U.S.-based groups, including Antifa. That's right, the same masked agitators that you saw attacking ICE officers, setting federal buildings on fire, doxing agents, and marching under the banner of resistance. They weren't just angry activists. They were being used. So according to internal DHS memos leaked last week, there is now evidence of encrypted communications between Antifa-aligned organizers in Portland and foreign actors with known ties to Hezbollah and Iran's Quds Force. These messages include tactical riot maps, drop locations for burner phones and encrypted USBs, even translated propaganda supporting Hamas, Hezbollah, and Iran's anti-Israel rhetoric. And let's be clear, this wasn't just talk. These groups were actively sharing surveillance footage of ICE facilities, federal buildings, and officer patrols. So they were gathering intel. They were targeting Americans, and they were prepping for something a lot bigger. And this is why ICE agents in 2025, under the Trump administration, now operate masked with full federal protection. You've probably seen the media meltdown over this, right? Democrats like Eric Swalwell and Rashida Tlaib, they're whining about ICE looking like the KGB. Swalwell said this: "They're wearing masks like 1800 bank robbers. This isn't who we are." But let me ask you something, guys. Why do they need to wear masks? Because they're under attack. Because radicals are posting, they're basically putting up posters with their faces and home addresses all over downtown Portland and San Francisco. Because their wives are getting threats. Their kids are being followed. That's not okay. This and the same people who scream justice, they're literally trying to hunt them down. So yeah, the masks are staying on because this isn't about optics anymore. This is about survival. And Trump made it crystal clear. If you lay a hand on a federal officer, if you target ICE, if you shield a foreign agent of terror, you will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. And this isn't the Biden era. This isn't community policing or reactive justice. This is the rebuilding of American law and order, and it's happening right now, guys. So after everything you just heard, the sleeper cells, the uranium traces, the court victory, the DHS raids, the Antifa-Iran connection, you'd think the media would be panicking right now, right? Nope. They're way too busy arguing over ice masks and trying to defend Gavin Newsom. But here's the real truth that they just can't suppress anymore, because the American people, they're finally waking up. According to the latest Fox News national poll released today, 62% of Americans now support National Guard deployments in sanctuary cities. Among independents, that support jumps to 68%. And here's the one that's shaking up Democrat strategy meetings. 45% of Latino voters now say they trust Trump more than Gavin Newsom to keep their families safe. Think about that, guys. I'm talking cities like Los Angeles, Chicago, and Philadelphia, where ICE used to be demonized. Trump's numbers are surging because people don't care about political branding when their neighborhoods feel like war zones. They care about their kids, their businesses, their freedom to be able to walk the street at night without stepping into chaos. And Gavin Newsom, well, let's just say he's having a rough week. So after the Ninth Circuit ruling, Gavin Newsom, he ran straight to Twitter and screamed, "Trump is not a king." But here's what the court actually said. The president has the legal authority to deploy federal forces when local governments are failing to enforce the law. That's not king. That's commander-in-chief. And Trump responded with fire. Tell that to the families whose sleeper cells were targeting. Boom. Guys, that's the contrast. President Trump is out here arresting foreign operatives hiding in sanctuary cities. Gavin Newsom is out here giving them legal cover while pretending to run for the president. So even Democrat strategists at this point, they're sounding the alarm. A DNC insider leaked a memo just yesterday warning that Trump's DHS raids are polling better than expected, even in the blue strongholds. But why? This is because it comes to safety versus slogans. The slogans are collapsing. And here's the kicker on top of it, right? Most Americans now believe Trump was right to take control, right to unleash DHS, and right to bypass sanctuary politicians who left the front door open for our enemies. So now the question is, what happens next? Because what President Trump and DHS just launched wasn't a one-off. This wasn't a raid. This was the beginning of a new doctrine, a doctrine where sanctuary city protections no longer apply to terror affiliates, where the Department of Homeland Security is reclaiming territory city by city, not overseas, but right here at home. So, and let me tell you, they're just getting started, guys. As of this morning, ICE has flagged over 300 additional names tied to Iranian proxy networks, financial intermediaries, radical organizers, and foreign-born tech specialists who exploited visa loopholes. These individuals are not just being watched, they're being targeted. Philadelphia, Minneapolis, Atlanta. Three cities now confirmed as the next wave of federal operations. Why? Because these are cities with soft leadership, cities where ICE agents have been attacked, defunded, and even denied backup. Cities where radicals are still they're operating freely, emboldened by years of zero accountability. Well, that ends now. And so the message from the White House is crystal clear. No more tolerance for lawlessness disguised as progressivism. No more hiding behind slogans. If you shield foreign threats, you become one. Boom. Right there. Meanwhile, National Guard, now fully authorized under Title 10 U.S. Code, thanks to last week's court victory, has begun pre-positioning multiple units at major ICE staging facilities across the country. And these aren't media-friendly photo ops, guys. These are preparations. DHS is gearing up for the largest coordinated sweep in U.S. history, and this time, there will be no warnings, no sanctuary loopholes, and no immunity from prosecution. And President Trump, he's not blinking. In his own words, we let them in. They tried to hurt us from within. Now we will remove every last one of them. And the politicians who protected them, they will answer to the people. So ladies and gentlemen, it's over. The lies are done. The borders, internal and external, they're being enforced. And the United States is no longer a playground for sleeper cells, radical anarchists, or the enemies of freedom. This is a turning point, a moment that history books will remember when the American government finally said, not 1 inch more. Now, if you support what President Trump and DHS just did, if you're tired of watching your cities fall into chaos, and if you believe that this country still deserves to be protected from the inside out, then don't stay silent. Share this video, drop a quick comment down below. And I want you to hit the subscribe button because you're going to keep telling the truth. Okay, we are going to keep telling the truth, and they're terrified about what I'm going to share with you next. We'll see you guys next time. Hey, by the way, guys, if you're one of the real ones who really enjoy what we do here on the channel, you've got to check out the Inner Circle. This is where our true supporters get exclusive access to content that I just can't share here, completely commercial free. It's also the best way to keep this channel going strong. So if you want to be a part of something special, join us over there. Links in the description or in the pinned comment down below.